Let me ask you something. Folks, what would you do if a woman from your neighborhood, a so-called community leader, started a secret campaign to sabotage your entire livelihood? And what if she didn't stop at gossip, or letters, or even legal threats, but crossed the line into arson? Wielding gasoline and a lighter in your private property? Yeah. That's where this story begins. My name's Emily Vance. And I own a small fashion business in a place most folks forget exists, a swampy stretch of land right outside Oak Ridge Township, Mississippi. You'd think being far out would keep the HOA crazies away. You'd be wrong. I grew up with my grandma, Estelle. Stubborn, sweet, and sharper than a rusted nail. She raised me in a shotgun-style house barely bigger than a double wide. And when I say she's the reason I got into fashion, I mean it. She hand-stitched church dresses out of worn curtains and thrifted lace like it was haute couture. I swear. Half the town still shows up to Sunday service in Estelle Originals. Anyway, I built my business from scratch. Got lucky once when a custom corset design I posted went viral. That gave me enough to quit my job at the diner and build a warehouse on a patch of swampy land behind Grandma's house. It wasn't much, just corrugated metal siding, a concrete slab, and a dream, but it was mine. I worked day and night, sourcing, designing, sewing, shipping. I even partitioned off a clean space inside to work on my high-end one-of-a-kind pieces. The rest became storage for customized bulk orders. The work was brutal, but fulfilling. And through it all, Grandma Estelle was my biggest cheerleader. Even when she needed help walking, she'd drag a stool outside just to watch me paint the exterior panels pink. But success has a strange scent, one that draws pests. Enter Karen Whitmore. She moved into a brand new prefab house up the road about a year ago. Her voice had that thick molasses southern hospitality tone. But her eyes? Her eyes were glass daggers. She called herself the acting president of the Oak Ridge Beautification Board. But really? She just meant herself. She appointed no board. No meetings, just her clipboard and her judgment. At first it was harmless. Notes left in my mailbox about the inappropriate paint color of my warehouse. Then she escalated. She filed complaints with the county about industrial noise pollution. None stuck. But the real trouble started when her teenage son, Devon, began modeling some of my stuff on Instagram. Turns out he had a decent following and absolutely rocked the gender-fluid fashion I was producing. That's when she declared war. I didn't know this at first. But Karen started showing up in local Facebook groups spreading rumors. That warehouse is trafficking in obscenity. She posted. They're trying to influence our sons. She even organized a concerned mothers coalition. What did they do? Stood at the edge of my gravel driveway waving protest signs. One said keep our sons straight, complete with glittery glue lettering. Hypocrisy never looked so sparkly. I laughed it off. I mean, free advertising, right? But when I noticed my security costs spike nearly overnight, I started to wonder. I had a local private company watching the place at night, standard for businesses around here. But they started charging triple. No warning. Just a notice. When I questioned it, they cut ties. No refund. Just left me hanging. My gut told me something was off. But I chalked it up to rural price gouging. Grandma said, screw it, baby. I'll keep my shotgun by the porch. But I didn't want her fighting my battles. What I didn't know. Karen's husband played poker every Tuesday night with the CEO of that same security firm. The whole thing was a setup. I kept my cool, updated the cameras, changed the alarm codes, and figured the rest would pass. It didn't. Not long after, the cameras caught something that made my blood run cold, an unknown figure with a gas can and a copied key. The woman wore a hood and gloves. But I'd recognize that posture anywhere. Karen. And I knew, this wasn't just some HOA tantrum anymore. It was war. I didn't have time to panic. The moment I saw her on the camera feed, I grabbed my emergency flashlight, my phone, and the Glock 19 that had been tucked under the cash drawer since the day my granddad passed it on to me. I wasn't some wannabe vigilante, I'd been trained. He was a military man. And his final gift to me wasn't the pistol, but the confidence to use it only when absolutely necessary. That night, it felt necessary. The alarm was blaring like hellfire as I approached the warehouse door. Every part of me screamed to wait for the cops. But some part deeper, instinct maybe, told me if I didn't act now, everything I built would be ash. The front door hung open just enough for me to slip in. The sharp, chemical stench of gasoline punched me in the face like a warning. "Karen?" I called out. Voice louder than I intended. My boots stuck slightly to the floor as I moved forward. She'd already doused the entrance. Silence. The overhead fluorescents flickered once, then steadied, revealing the long rows of shelving, the stacked bolts of fabric, and the pale blue mannequins standing like frozen witnesses. From somewhere deeper in the warehouse, I heard movement, metal clanging, a footstep. Then, her voice. "You shouldn't be here, Emily," she said, echoing from the direction of my workshop space. "This isn't how it was supposed to go." I crept slowly, gun holstered but unlatched. "You shouldn't be here either, Karen. This is private property. You picked the wrong damn place for your little protest." There was a pause. Then she laughed, a short, bitter sound that made the hairs on my neck stand up. "You call this a business? Selling perversion in my community? You poisoned my son's mind. And now you're going to face the consequences." My fingers itched on the grip. "Your son modeled for me willingly, Karen. He's got talent. But this is a felony." She emerged slowly from behind a displayed rack, holding a red plastic gas can in one hand, and a silver Zippo in the other. Her face was flushed, sweaty, her eyes wild. "You ruined him," she hissed. "He's not the boy I raised anymore. Ever since he started spending time online with your kind, he's been disrespectful, wearing makeup, asking questions. You infected him." "Put the lighter down," I said, steady but firm. "And we can end this right here. You're not thinking straight. Walk away, before you lose everything." Karen stepped closer, ignoring my words. "This building is a stain, a factory of sickness. I should have burned it weeks ago." "Then why didn't you?" I asked, stalling as I moved sideways to put a shelf between us. She sneered. "Because I wanted you to see it fall. I wanted you to feel what you've done to this town." That's when I noticed, gasoline had soaked not just the floor, but the racks themselves. It wasn't just arson, it was premeditated destruction. She wanted this place to go up like a fireball. "If that Zippo sparked, you'll kill us both, Karen." "I don't care," she shouted suddenly, holding the lighter high. "It ends tonight." I drew my gun. Still didn't raise it. "Not yet, Karen. My grandmother's inside the house, 20 yards from here. If you set this off, you don't just take me with you. You take her, too." That made her hesitate. She blinked. Her grip wavered. I took a small step forward. "She's sick. You want to hurt me? Fine. But don't make her pay the price for your crusade." Karen's lip trembled. For half a second, I thought she might drop the lighter. Then she screamed, a guttural, furious sound, and lunged toward me with the Zippo already sparking. I reacted without thinking. One clean shot, through the palm of her hand. She dropped both the lighter and the can as she screamed, stumbling backward into a shelf of mannequins that collapsed in a noisy avalanche of limbs and cloth. I rushed forward, kicked the lighter away, then kicked the gas can for good measure. Karen was curled into herself, clutching her bleeding hand, sobbing now. "You did this," she spat through clenched teeth. "You ruined everything." "No, Karen," I said, breathing hard as I pulled out my phone to call 911. "You did this. And it ends right now." Sirens echoed in the distance. And for the first time in months, I felt like I might finally be safe. The red and blue lights washed over the swampy clearing like waves crashing on the crime scene. The warehouse pulsed with the sound of approaching engines. And for the first time since I heard the alarm, I let my breath out. Slowly, Karen was on the floor of my workshop, cradling her injured hand and mumbling something incoherent. I stayed a good 10 feet back, gun holstered, arms raised as I walked out to meet the squad cars. 2 deputies emerged with flashlights drawn and hands near their sidearms. One was young and wide-eyed. The other, Deputy Forrester, was an old-timer with a permanent squint and a voice like gravel. "Hands where I can see 'em." He barked. "They are," I said calmly. "Weapons on my hip. Safety's on. I just stopped someone from torching my warehouse." Forrester's expression didn't change. He gave a nod to the younger deputy, who entered the building. A moment later, I heard him call out, "Got a woman inside. Bleeding. Says she was shot." Karen, already trying to flip the script. "Before she tells you anything else," I said, lowering my arms slowly, "you're gonna want to see the footage. Everything's recorded. Multiple angles. She had a gas can and a lighter. I had no choice." Forrester grunted. "You got footage on you?" I pulled out my phone and tapped the app. "Yep. Night vision. Time-stamped. Want to see when she broke in? Or when she threatened to blow us both up?" He took the phone and scrolled. His face didn't move much, but I saw the subtle twitch when Karen appeared on the screen, creeping through my warehouse with gasoline dripping from a red canister. He handed the phone back. "Sit tight." Inside, Karen was mid-performance, clutching her hand, rocking back and forth on the floor like she was the one whose world just got burned down. "She lured me in," she cried to the deputy. "She's been threatening my family. She brainwashed my son. She runs a cult in this building." The young deputy looked unsure. "Mom, we have camera footage." She doctored it. Karen shrieked, eyes wide. "She's dangerous." That's when I walked in with Forrester behind me. "I'm sorry, Karen," I said, loud enough for the body cam to catch. "Did I doctor the footage before or after you used my ex-security company's spare key to break in?" Her head whipped around. You shut up." "She's got the lighter in her print-covered hand," I added to Forrester. "You'll probably want to collect that before it magically disappears." He nodded to the younger deputy, who crouched and bagged the silver Zippo. Karen lunged for it but was too slow. "And check the cameras," I added, pointing. "Those big black domes on the ceiling? They've been recording everything. Audio too. You'll hear every word she said about burning this place down." Karen looked like she was going to be sick. Then she tried to stand and bolted toward the exit. Didn't get far. She slipped on a gasoline-soaked patch of floor and hit the concrete with a wet smack. Her scream was more frustration than pain. The deputies rushed to cuff her. As they read her rights, she flailed and wailed and shouted nonsense. "This is political. She's corrupt. You don't understand what's happening here." I just stood and watched. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to say anything. The truth was doing the work for me. Forrester came back over and handed me a clipboard. "Mind signing your statement now, Ms. Vance? We'll take her in. She'll be charged with B&D, arson attempt, and possibly worse." "She came here to destroy everything," I said. "But the footage makes it plain." He nodded. "It does. You handled yourself better than most would have." "I had to," I replied, looking back at the wreckage of my studio. This wasn't just my business. It was my life. And I wasn't going to let a Karen with a gas can take it from me. If you thought getting arrested would be enough to stop Karen, then clearly, you've never met a HOA Karen before. Most folks, when caught on camera sneaking into someone's private warehouse with a gas can and a lighter, would hire a lawyer and pray for a plea deal. Not Karen Whitmore. Oh no. Karen decided to double down. By the time I got back from filing my statement, her lawyer had already fired off a cease and desist letter, claiming I'd endangered a member of the community. Community? Lady. This woman tried to turn me and my grandma into s'mores. And get this, the cease and desist also demanded I remove all surveillance footage from the cloud and issue a public apology. I almost choked on my iced tea when I read it. But here's the thing, I wasn't the one scrambling. I had everything. The footage. The security logs. The police report. And most importantly, a smoking gun of my own, an email string from a whistleblower inside the security company. Seems Karen's husband had leaned hard on his poker buddy, the CEO, to breach protocol and terminate my service without a formal cause. That little favor? Illegal as hell. I called up an attorney, Deirdre Flores, a no-nonsense civil litigator out of Baton Rouge with a face like your favorite aunt and the bite of a pit bull. I sent her the files. 10 minutes later, she called me back. Her exact words, "Emily, this woman just handed you a silver platter with caviar on it. We're going after both of them." And oh, did we? The first lawsuit named Karen for attempted arson, trespassing, and emotional damages. The second was aimed directly at the security firm, for breach of contract, negligence, and conspiracy to commit fraud. And the best part? Once Deirdre subpoenaed the phone logs between Karen, her husband, and the company CEO. It turned out they'd been texting about me for weeks. One gem from Karen's husband read, "Just get rid of the guards. If she makes noise, she'll bury herself in drama." He was almost right. Except the only one getting buried was Karen. Word got out fast. In small towns, news moves faster than Wi-Fi. At first, the same people who'd whispered behind my back started asking questions. Wait. Karen did what? She broke in? With gasoline? The Sunday gossip mill lit up like 4th of July. But Karen, ever the performative martyr, tried to stage her own PR comeback. She posted a Facebook Live video, standing in her perfectly staged kitchen with her hand in a brace. Eyes puffy and fake tears flowing like syrup. This community is being destroyed by people who don't share our values, she said. With all the sincerity of a dollar-tree actor. I was only trying to protect our children. Emily runs a warehouse of indoctrination. And now I'm the one being treated like a criminal. The comments section roasted her. You had a lighter and gasoline. Karen. Protecting kids by committing arson? Genius. Girl. Just say you lost and go. Even Devon, her own son, commented, Mom, I modeled a crop top. You tried to commit a felony. Let it go. By the following week, HOA members started resigning left and right. Turned out Karen had been using HOA funds to print out morality pamphlets and mail them anonymously to residents. One neighbor found a flyer taped to her door that said God is watching your garden gnomes. No one knew what that even meant. But when the local paper ran the front page story with the headline, HOA president linked to arson attempt at local businesswoman's warehouse, everything crumbled. Karen was suspended from the HOA board. The security company was slapped with a cease operations order. And Deirdre began talks for a settlement worth 6 figures. As for me, well, I upgraded the warehouse with fireproof insulation, a biometric lock system, and a 24/7 security feed that now streams straight to my lawyer's inbox. Just in case anyone gets any bright ideas. I also launched a new fashion line, called Phoenix Threads. Guess who inspired the logo? A flaming peacock with Karen's sunglasses. Sometimes poetic justice is just as satisfying as legal justice. The warehouse smelled like lavender and fresh fabric softener again. Not gasoline. Not fear. Just peace. It had been 6 months since the night Karen tried to burn my life down. And in that time, the world turned upside down, in my favor. After the lawsuits settled, I received a payout from the security firm that was just shy of 7 figures. Karen herself was forced to settle as part of a plea deal. Her crimes? Attempted arson, criminal trespass, vandalism, and conspiracy. She avoided jail thanks to some slick plea bargaining and mental health evaluation. But her record was no longer HOA squeaky clean. And that was enough to make her poison powerless. The HOA removed her in a unanimous emergency vote. Not even the folks who used to walk their dogs with her would make eye contact anymore. Her husband? Quietly resigned from the security firm board and moved 2 towns over. Devon? Last I heard, He transferred to a performing arts school out of state. His modeling page now features a full spread in Teen Vogue. Sometimes karma has excellent taste. As for me, I didn't just rebuild, I expanded. I used part of the settlement to buy the 2 adjacent plots next to my warehouse and turned one into a small boutique studio where I teach local teens design and stitching. The other? A memorial garden, raised beds, wildflowers, and a mural of my grandmother, Estelle, painted across the side of the warehouse. She passed away 3 months after the incident. Peacefully, with me holding her hand. Before she went, she whispered, "They tried to tear you down, baby. And you made art from the ashes." Those words became the tagline for my brand. Art from the ashes. But just when I thought we were free of Karen for good, she slithered back. Like the mold under a cracked window. It happened at the town's annual Founders Festival. I was asked to give a short talk on women entrepreneurs. And the committee even named me Oak Ridge Business of the Year. Big step for a town that once tried to blacklist me. Right? I stood on the makeshift stage downtown, mic in hand. Crowd smiling up at me. My new intern, Jay, adjusted my mic cord. And I spotted Devon in the back giving me a thumbs up. And then Karen stormed the damn stage. Hair frizzed. Eyes puffy. Cheap sunglasses. Probably knockoffs of her old designer pairs. She shoved past the host and marched straight up to me, yelling into the mic like she had just watched a courtroom drama and decided she was the star witness. "This woman is a fraud," she screamed. "She lied to the whole town. She shot me like an animal and now you reward her." The crowd gasped. Then someone from the back shouted, "You lit her warehouse on fire, Karen." Another voice, "Go home. You're embarrassing yourself." And then Devon, yes, her son, walked to the front, climbed the edge of the stage, and gently took the microphone from her hand. "Mom," he said, not unkindly, "you need to stop. You've already lost everything. Don't make it worse." She looked like she'd been struck by lightning. For a full 3 seconds, the entire square went silent. Then she let out a screech that could peel paint, swatted the mic stand, and tried to knock over a flower arrangement. She tripped, fell off the edge of the stage, landed directly in a kiddie pool filled with ice water from the fire department's dunk tank. A toddler nearby screamed, "She's a swamp witch." Everyone laughed. Not mockingly, more like catharsis. She crawled out, dripping and defeated. And no one helped her. And just like that, Karen Whitmore, once the HOA queen of Oak Ridge, slipped away like a soggy ghost. She hasn't been seen in public since. Me? I finished my speech. I talked about second chances, about rising when others want to bury you, and about how every one of us, regardless of background, has a spark worth protecting. And at the end, I held up a lighter. "Just make sure the only thing you use this for is to light your dreams." The crowd roared. "And Karen, she'll just have to watch it on YouTube."